Kindness is a chemical reaction. When we are kind to someone, it feels good, even when it's the last thing we feel like doing. We live in anxious, unjust times, and what empowers us is the peace of Christ inside of us. It's what gives us the strength to be kind in a world that is anything but. Kindness feels good because it releases oxytocin, a chemical in our brain that helps us bond with others. Being kind also releases dopamine and serotonin, which help regulate our moods and emotions. Helping others is good for you. God created us to be kind, empathetic, and generous. So why is it so hard? Why in the early 21st century are we still struggling with being kind to each other? Sesame Street has been tackling kindness for decades.
Wow, that was really kind.
Well, kindness is kind of what I do. You see, I am the kindness kid.
The kindness kid?
Yep, I spread kindness wherever I go.
Kindness. Yes, kindness. What exactly is kindness again?
Kindness is love. Kindness is the outer manifestation of that inner sense of peace we have as people of faith. It is the outward manifestation of the peace of Christ that passes understanding. We teach kindness to our youngest of children, celebrating their hardwired love for one another. But soon, kindness takes a back seat to the celebration of good grades and academic achievement. And further into the background as career and financial success move to the forefront of our culture's appreciation.
We start well with little children, teaching them about kindness. It's one of the primary virtues we hold up for them, being kind to each other, being kind to animals, saying that we're sorry when we hurt someone's feelings. Kindness is essential for happiness in life, that all of those other measures of success, money, status, position, friends, don't mean anything if a person is not kind.
Looks like someone might need a little help.
Oh dear. Oh, these groceries are so heavy. Oh, kindness to the rescue. Oh, Emma will help you, ma'am.
Oh, so will I.
Oh,
We'll take these home for you.
oh, that is so kind of you both. Well, it's nice to be kind. Oh, wonderful. Well, I just live right down the street there.
Oh, good. Where?
About 30 blocks.
30 blocks?
Kindness is vital, even when it is hard, especially when it is hard. Sharon Crandall regularly visits one of the hardest places on earth to be kind, Men's Central Jail in Los Angeles. Let's hear from Sharon about how kindness takes root in jail.
So sometimes I'll see a guy and he'll maybe be drawing a picture to send home, and I'll give him a piece of white paper. And it so often will cause that man to tear up. And it is that simple kindness that I'm not just there to push my religion, as they will sometimes say, that I'm there because I really do care about them and I want to be there. One of the things that I see with the men in the jail is the reaction of their kindness to each other. And a good example is one time there was a man who was going to be taken to solitary, or in the hole as they call it. And I'm not exactly sure what happened. It was a fight, and the men in the unit all knew that he was going to the hole. And so they put together all of their food, extra food, snack food, things like that they had purchased with their own money. And food there is coveted. You know, it's not readily available. And so they put together all their food and prepared a really nice meal so that he could have one good meal before he went to the hole. You watch how people that they would normally have been threatened by, or, wanting to do physical harm to them, all of a sudden become their friends. And so to watch them be kind to each other in that way is really powerful.
We are hardwired by God to use the power of love, kindness, empathy, and generosity to make a difference in the world. I remember being in a particularly bad place right around the time my mom was dying. It had been lots of long days and late nights in the hospital with her. And while her doctors had not said so, we knew she was dying. We knew it was just a matter of time. I got up one morning, drove over to the hospital to relieve my sister, and on the way, I went through the drive-thru of a local coffee shop for some necessary caffeination. The line was ridiculously long, and I cracked. I sat in my car and cried. When I got up to the window, the server told me the car in front of me had paid for my coffee. He said they saw you were upset and thought you might need a little extra love today. It's a small thing someone did, but it changed the course of my entire day. That's the gift of kindness. That's what it looks like when the peace of Christ moves into active practice in small, everyday ways. Ravi Verma has been a spiritual director for 18 years. Let's listen to Ravi's insights about how together we can prepare to do the work of the Lord.
It is up to us to pay attention to the beauty around us, to the joy around us, to the people who are doing this work. So we hold that paradox together at the same time, to love ourselves and to love the world, which means be part of transforming it, but also taking care of ourselves. This work of justice and equality is God's work. I am a small piece of that, and I have to show up to do my piece. That is not an option, because that is the mandate for all people of faith, every tradition. But I have to remember, this is God's work. I can't take on that whole thing that I am doing this, that it is me. When my ego comes in the way, I get into trouble. In today's times, many people say, I don't know what to do, it's too big, and they give up. And I would encourage them to find spiritual resources, to find what they can do.
Another interesting thing about kindness is that it is contagious. Witnessing an act of kindness creates the same physiological events in us as when we are engaging in an act of kindness. Witnessing kindness helps us know how good being kind feels. We are all a single family, all bound up in one another, and we live in a world that is polarized and emotionally reactive. It is a stressful and anxious time. It is a time with great injustice, where the least of these, those that Christ especially loves, are forgotten, invisible, and ignored. It's a time when it would be easy to feel discouraged, overwhelmed, and alone. But as people of faith who know the love of God inside of us, who know what God's grace looks like, we can live into the peace of Christ that passes understanding. That peace of Christ is the antidote. And one of the ways this peace moves beyond being just a feeling inside of us into the active practice of our faith is through kindness. Be kind. Online, in traffic, at the supermarket, everywhere. Be kind to friends and strangers. Be kind to those who love you and those who may not. Kindness is the peace of Christ put into practice in a world that is craving a kind word of peace. Let's be that for one another and for the world, for the sake of God's love.